Behind the world's most recognized crown lies a fortress of secrets. You have been lied to about what a Rolex actually is. While you are sitting on a 3-year waiting list, begging a local dealer for the privilege to spend £15,000 on a piece of stainless steel, the organization selling it to you is hiding a secret that would bankrupt any other company on Earth. You see, the world's most famous luxury brand isn't actually a business. It isn't a watchmaker in the traditional sense, and legally, it doesn't even exist to make a profit. Rolex is a charity. It hasn't had a single shareholder. It hasn't paid a penny in dividends to investors. And because of a masterstroke of legal genius by its founder, it operates behind a veil of Swiss secrecy that makes the CIA look transparent. Today, we are looking under the hood of the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. We are going to see how a non-profit conquered the world of high finance, why they intentionally make it impossible for you to buy their products, and where the $10 billion they generate every year actually goes. Welcome to the Sovereign Archive. To understand the power of the crown, you have to understand the trauma of the man who created it. Hans Wilsdorf was an orphan by the age of 12. He didn't come from a dynasty of wealth. He came from a background of sudden, jarring loss. When he eventually moved to London and then to Geneva to build the Rolex empire, he wasn't just building watches. He was building a fortress. In 1944, his wife, Florence, passed away. Wilsdorf had no children. He had no heirs. He had no one to carry on the name he had spent 40 years turning into a global icon. He looked at the industrial giants of his time, companies that were torn apart by greedy heirs or sold off to the highest bidder. The moment, the founder's heart stopped beating, and he decided that Rolex would never suffer that fate. In 1945, he established the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. He signed over 100% of his ownership in Rolex to this private trust. This was the ultimate friction factor. By doing this, Wilsdorf ensured that Rolex could never be bought. You cannot buy Rolex. LVMH cannot buy them. The Swatch Group cannot buy them. Even the Swiss government cannot force their hand. But there was a secondary effect to this move, one that gave Rolex an unfair advantage that has lasted for 80 years. Because the foundation is a charitable trust under Swiss law, the financial details of Rolex are a total black box. They don't have to report profits to a stock exchange. They don't have to explain their margins to anyone. They are a private army with a charitable shield. Now, let's talk about the money. In the United Kingdom or the United States, if a company makes £1 billion in profit, they pay corporation tax. They pay dividends to hungry shareholders. They are under constant, suffocating pressure to grow their profits every 3 months. Rolex has none of those pressures. As a foundation, they are exempt from many of the taxes that bleed their competitors dry. Imagine playing a game of Monopoly where everyone else has to pay 20% of their earnings back to the bank every time they pass go, but you get to keep everything. What does Rolex do with that extra cash? They don't give it to a CEO as a massive performance bonus. They reinvest it into 2 things: absolute quality and absolute control. Rolex owns their entire supply chain. They have their own foundry where they smelt their own proprietary gold. They have their own laboratories where they develop their own lubricants and oils. The foundation also owns some of the most expensive and lucrative real estate in the city of Geneva. They are, in many ways, the kings. If Rolex makes 1 million watches a year, why are the shelves at every authorized dealer empty? The answer lies in what we call the foundation mindset. If Rolex were a public company like Apple or Tesla, their shareholders would demand they double or triple production to meet the massive global demand. They would want to capture the market and maximize revenue today. But Rolex doesn't care about the market today. They care about the market in the next century. By keeping supply exactly 10% below global demand, they have created what economists call a Veblen good, a product where the higher the price and the harder it is to get, the more people want it. They have turned their watches into a global currency. In the year 2026, a Rolex Submariner or a GMT Master is more stable than the British pound, the euro, or the US dollar. It is a portable, liquid asset that appreciates over time. And because they are a foundation, they can afford to be patient. They don't need to sell you a watch today to make their quarterly targets. They would rather you wait 3 years and be desperate for it, because that desperation is what maintains the brand's psychological power. They aren't selling you a timekeeper. They are selling you a ticket into an exclusive club where the entry fee is patience and absolute loyalty to the dealer network. They have mastered the art of artificial scarcity, ensuring that the value of every Rolex ever made stays high, which in turn ensures that the foundation's assets only ever grow. So, we have to ask, is Rolex actually a charity? Legally, the answer is yes. Spiritually, it is a sovereign entity. It is the ultimate example of what happens when you remove the short-term greed of shareholders and replace it with the long-term obsession of a legacy. Hans Wilsdorf didn't just create a watch. He created a system that is immune to the volatility of the modern world. He created a way for a company to act like a kingdom. The next time you see that green box, don't look at it as a piece of jewelry or a status symbol. Look at it as a piece of a 1945 legal masterpiece. It is a masterclass in how to build an empire that never has to answer to anyone. Rolex didn't win the luxury game by making the best watches, though their quality is undeniable. They won by building a fortress that no one can storm. They won by turning a business into a mission, and a mission into a foundation that will likely outlive us all. Rolex proves that in a world obsessed with the next 10 minutes, the real power belongs to those who are thinking about the next 10 decades. If you found this breakdown of the Rolex mechanism valuable, consider joining our archive by subscribing. We look at the hidden systems of power and the strange logic of money that run our world, one story at a time. We don't look at the surface, we look at the foundation. This is Capital Logic. Until next time.